Hello there, you're welcome to the channel. So today I just wanted to come on and talk about Nicolas Jackson links to him leaving the club, Nkunku as well, to be leaving, as in reported to be leaving Chelsea as well. But I just went through my X feed and I saw this sort of news uh, post. This is something to talk about. So I think it's from what's the name of the yeah. So Sebastian Vidal. So obviously he's not one of the um, big guys, not one of the should I say notable what's it called? Yeah, he isn't one of the big guys like you have your Fabrizios, your Ornstein, obviously. But this is something interesting to talk about. Says exclusive. Kanichuku Maker is set to join Dortmund for £22 million. Deal closed with Chelsea, but BVB aren't stopping there. Tyrique George also on their radar alongside Renato Vega and Axel Disasi. So essentially, coming to shop at Chelsea. So fair enough. So for me, I think Kanichu could make a fair play. He should leave because for whatever reason, Enzo Maresca doesn't rate him. So if turns out to be true, fair play for him. Cool. He moves on to Dortmund and he enjoys being there. The coach loves him, so fine for him to be there. But George, I hope is only loan. I hope he's only loan. But I'll say this: if he goes there, if Chelsea for whatever reason they say we want to cash in on this player, pure profit or whatever else, I'm telling you, there must be a buyback clause in there because I'm telling you, he's going to be worth 60 million minimum, 60 million pounds minimum, because he will crush it. Because he's got the tools, he's got the minerals, he's got everything it takes to play very well, to make it in the German Bundesliga. Just like Bino Gittins, how long ago did he go to Dortmund? And the way they play football there, it really helps exciting, pacey players, really shine. The ball goes into them really quickly, and they can just get the ball and run at pace. So I think he will shine there 100%. Tyrique George will shine at Dortmund. If this report proves to be true, he will shine there 100%. You can bank on it. And then Renato Vega is a strange one for me. He's a player that suddenly everyone doesn't rate. Saw someone on X say calling him mid-level player and hyping Gerald Hato over him. Of course, Gerald Hato is a top talent. I admit that. But to just say Vega isn't that good mid-level, Vega is someone that can do a job in midfield. Vega is someone that can do a job at left back. It's someone that can do a job at central defense. So I think he's another one that would leave. So going to Dortmund, I think that's an absolute steal for Dortmund. An absolute steal. Axel Disasi is one I'm okay with leaving. Disasi, no worries about him. So if he goes, he goes. I just think he is a decent defender, but he doesn't fit into Enzo Maresca's system. Enzo Maresca wants to play the high line. Disasi doesn't have any pace, so that's not going to work. So no need for him to be at the club. He is an orthodox old school defender, so you want someone to just sit him in front of the goalkeeper, just be a defender. He will do a beautiful job there, in my opinion. So if Dortmund are willing to come in, so maybe in all these deals, £20 million for Kanichukwu Maker, maybe they're going for another, say, 20 odd for Tyrique George, and maybe another 25 a piece for Disasi and Vega. That could bring that up to 50. And then so that'll bring it very close to being £100 million, and that'll be a good outlay for the financial people. That'll be a good outlay for Chelsea to bring in, and maybe then Chelsea will want to go for Xavi Simons. So I think overall, this is something that could happen. It's not something that's strange to think about, but would Dortmund just come in and read Chelsea like this? Maybe that's quite possible. So, what do you think about the likelihood of these players, leaving, joining Dortmund? Just some opinions, on that bit. So, Let me know what you think about that. So now I want to talk about Nicholas Jackson. I want to talk about Christopher Nkunku. Um, Reports are they could be leaving the club. Fabrizio Romano has been going on about it on his platform, on X. He's been tweeting about it, saying Chelsea are open to Nicholas Jackson leaving. Now there's a 2 points of view. First off, Nicholas Jackson as a nine doesn't work for me. He doesn't. He's had 2 seasons to prove himself as an actual number nine, and that hasn't worked at all. So for me, I think number nine, no. Jackson, it doesn't work. And people are saying, oh, he can be the third choice number nine. Really? You'll be the number one striker for 2 seasons, and then now you expect him to be comfortable with being a third choice? It doesn't make any sense at all. For him to be the third choice and be happy coming on every day, playing well, giving his utmost. No, I don't think that works. I don't think that works at all. You know, so but what I think could work, where I'm a bit skeptical about selling Nicholas Jackson or letting him go, is when it comes to that left wing option. I think he can really do a job at left wing. He can really do a job at left wing. And then if maybe we don't knock on wood, Liam Delap has an injury, Jao Pedro has an injury, he can then be like a backup striker or come in and take that spot. But I think he can be world class at left wing. He just can't be that as a striker, especially when you want to be possession dominant. He doesn't have that inbox awareness to do that. I've said this, if Nicholas Jackson has that ball running at a defender 1v1 every most part of the game, that would be absolutely terrifying for any defender. And when I look at the options, who are we looking to get? Who is Chelsea looking to get instead of Nicholas Jackson? Sorry, in that left wing is Garnacho. I look at it, I say, really, Garnacho? I don't think he is the one, but probably it most likely looks like he's going to be signed. So for Nicholas Jackson as a left wing option, 100% I would want to stay at the club. But to play him as a number nine, that's not going to work because I think Jao Pedro will start, Liam Delap will be the second one. To have him as a third choice striker, I just think that wouldn't work, in my opinion. It wouldn't work at all. And then we'll go to Christopher Nkunku to talk about Christopher Nkunku leaving as well. That's been coming. So that's been coming, and he should leave. Nkunku should leave because right now his head isn't at the club for one, and then secondly, Enzo Maresca will not play him in his favored position and is going to struggle. So rather than having a player that will be unhappy, one, secondly, will not even be playing in his rightful position. So I think the best thing to do would be to let Christopher Nkunku go. We've had Inter Milan being interested. That's fair play. He should go. He should go there. Maybe he goes back to Leipzig, becomes part of the makeshift, for the Xavi Simon deal. I'm fine with that. He's a player I really rated. I still rate him, but we sometimes we focus so much on the psychological, on the physical part of it, and ignore the psychological part of the game. Nkunku's brain, Nkunku's mind is no longer at the club. So I think for all parties, what's best is to let him go. He goes over to a different club, and he can salvage his career a bit, and maybe get into the FIFA World Cup for next year, into the French team for the FIFA World Cup next year. So fair play on that one. And then it seems like I'm having to talk about this player, every day because news keeps coming out every day. People keep saying Chelsea will sign him. Manchester United will accept a £30 million offer for Garnacho. And now I've talked so much about him, so I want to know what you guys think about Garnacho. Do you value him? Do you fancy him? Do you think he is the one, for he's the one for the team? He can actually come in and compete with Gittins. I know people are saying, "Oh, Gittins doesn't have those numbers," but I think Gittins suits Chelsea better than Garnacho. I think it would be better if you go out there and sign someone with top level quality. Because if you're going to let a Tyrique George go, if you're going to let a Nicolas Jackson go, or you don't use him as a left wing option, you need to get a top level player that comes in right now and is ready to go. Garnacho will be coming in, only to sort of he'll be a player that needs to come good, that you need to give time again. And for me, I don't quite see why he should, be in the team. I don't quite see the need for him. I think that's a better way to put it. I don't quite see the need for a Garnacho in the team. I just don't. So fair play if he comes in, I'll always support the player. I always say the name in front of the shirt, is more important than the name on the back of the shirt. So I'll always support any player that the club signs. But at this point in time, I just have to say he is not that guy. He is not a guy. So what I want to ask now, we had the team, the back training, what do you make of the new, what do you make of the team all returning back to training, first team training, getting ready for that preseason game. Christopher Williams is already in London, so fair play in that regard. So happy that he is here. So, what do you make of this new squad? Is there any area you feel is lacking? Player you need replacing, player you feel should be at the club, shouldn't be at the club. So for me, I look at it this way, right? For me, I look at it this way. Left back sorted out, that's fine. So you've got your Hato, you've got your Cucurella, that's sorted out. No worries about that one. But and then right back, you've got your Reece James, you've got your Malo Gusto. Fine, no issues there. But when it comes to the central defense, I think there's an issue there. Tosin, Colwill for me are my preferred starting lineup. I prefer Tosin, I prefer Colwill as the two starting defenders. And then Chaloba, I don't even think he's that great of a backup. But I want to know what you think about, Trevor Chaloba. He's not that much of a backup either. And then as well, you talk about the 10 role. Franco Palmer is the first choice, is the first one. And I'll be happy if Xavi joins, but if Xavi Simons joins, and it's looking like that could happen, with all the outgoings, Fabrice Romano keeps saying outgoings must be done before, incomings are made. So fair play. So that means the likes of Vega, Disasi, Nkunku, maybe Jackson as well. Jackson maybe is an option for Manchester United or Newcastle United if either fail, at least when either fails to get Sesko. For some reason, people want to pay, blood money for Sesko, which is just crazy to me. So that's it in terms of the squad size. And then you talk about the number 9 position for me, Liam Delap and João Pedro would be the starting two, would be the two striking options, 1 and 2. And then Nicolas Jackson, I think it will be really difficult for him to be that third string striker. A lot of people are saying keep him at the club. Let's see how the other two work out. You have to consider from the player standpoint. Now, in a World Cup season, because after this season, you're going straight into the World Cup. So is that a season where you want to be played third fiddle, third string? No, I don't think that would work for Nicolas Jackson, except he's moved out wide. And I don't know if Enzo Maresca is willing to see him as a left wing option. And I think if Garnacho is signed, then that's done. So that's done. It's dead and buried. If Garnacho is signed, and Nicolas Jackson would have to move. So for me, I can't be hypocritical about it because I've said it a long time ago. As a striker, he doesn't cut it for me. So if that's number 9 position is the only place, is the only role Enzo Maresca sees for Nicolas Jackson, then for me, no, then he has to just go. I'm sorry, unfortunately, he's got 2 seasons where he's had to, where he's been given free reign to be the striker for Chelsea, and he hasn't really taken advantage of it. I know a lot of people are saying, let's keep him around. To what end? To what end? I don't see the reason why you keep Nicolas Jackson around. I think he's had his time. He hasn't taken advantage of it. Now, if he's not going to play out wide as a winger, then I think it's time for him to leave. Fair play. And when you look at the plan for the 2026 2027 season, you just know it's going to be really difficult because right now, he's if he stays, he will be third string, and then by next season, he will be fourth string. He'll be the fourth option, and that doesn't make any sense because right now you've got Liam Delap, you've got Jao Pedro, and one thing that's going to happen for sure is Emmanuel Emega. We've had the whole discussions about him negotiations for a pre-agreement between him, his representatives, and the club. And the club is really going to be super super difficult to get Nicolas Jackson to stay and be a fourth choice striker next season. So I think this is the point where you cash in on Nicolas Jackson because fortunately he just can cut it. As a striker, that is, he just can cut it. So we're talking about the squad, talking about Nicolas Jackson possibly leaving, talking about Nkunku, possibly leaving as well. So your thoughts and opinions on that. Or your thoughts and opinion about Nkunku, you still feel he hasn't sort of future at the club, or he should leave anyway? It's time for him to go. Do you even rate him? For me, I rated him, but right now his head is gone. So fair play if he does leave, in my opinion. Tyrique George, reports of Dortmund being interested, RB Leipzig being interested. For me, I just want Tyrique George go on loan. If whatever reason Enzo Maresca doesn't want to give him, doesn't want to use him, then he should go on loan. He should go on loan to a Leipzig or a Dortmund, not a permanent sale, because he's shown too much promise for me. Seeing him in the academy, seeing what he's also done in a few opportunities he's had with the first team, selling him with no buyback option would be an absolute travesty, in my opinion, because you'll be losing out on a top player because he'll be worth a lot more. I'm telling you, Bino Gittins' number, 60 odd million pounds, because I've seen his ability. So if he does go, a buyback clause, a buyback option should be on him. Maybe he puts something like 20 odd or 30 million because he'll be worth twice that. He'll be worth twice that, in my opinion. That's the way I look at it. And then the new squad, how the squad is, what your takes on it. For me, I'll say this. I said this in the previous video. The goalkeeping area is the most deficient. I know a lot of people right now. You have your eyes sort of covered or clouded by his performance in the Club World Cup final. Now, Club World Cup final performance, his best performance in the Chelsea shirt, hands down. But even in that tournament, even in that final, that was his best performance. He dropped a little semi-stinker. He almost threw the ball into the net. But fair play, he performed well in that game. But is that enough to go into the season as your outright number one striker, your outright number one option? For me, I don't think so. And why do I say him as your outright number one? Philip Jorgensen isn't the guy either. Philip Jorgensen just isn't that guy. So question is, what can this squad achieve as it is this way? For me, looking at the squad, looking at the abilities, looking at the players that have been signed, I think looking at the squad the way it is, I think finishing maybe top 3 should be the aim. I know Enzo Maresca says this time we'll go for everything. That's good. I want to hear that from my manager. I want to hear from my manager really, driving the squad. We're going all out for everything. We want to win every game. That's the way to do it. That's the way to look at it. But can it really happen with the players that we have at the club at the minute? With the players that are signed, especially, when you have deficiencies in certain areas. When you have deficiencies in certain areas, I just think, no, this team can't compete for the title. Yeah, Enzo Maresca has to be on his absolute A game, like on his absolute flexible manager, reading and picking apart the opposition. Because when you're coming up against it, when you come up against Liverpool, come up against a Manchester City, and they would have an Edison, they would have a Haaland, but I don't think Robert Sanchez really does. I don't think he measures up. I just don't think he measures up, in my opinion. I don't think he measures up, to what uh, uh, Chelsea would need to compete. But overall, I'm happy with the squad. It's a squad that will be exciting. And what I've said, we should be the best of the rest. Liverpool can be top, okay. Arsenal, annoyingly so. Man City, okay. But outside of that, you should be beating everyone else from your Spurs, your Bournemouth, your whatever, your Brentfords, Newcastle United. You should be beating them all up and having a winning record against those teams and comfortably finishing in Champions League spot. Not waiting until the end of the season before you're competing for you're fighting for that fourth spot with a game to go, 2 games to go. Should be comfortably in that top four going into the end of the season. And a cup, win the FA Cup, that's fine. That would be an okay season for me. But if it turns out that the team can actually go out there and compete and chase the title, fair play. But I just think in certain areas the team is still a bit deficient, and that is for one, goalkeeping and the strikers as well. I think João Pedro is someone in the next 2 seasons will come good, but is he capable of giving 25, 30 goals in all competitions? And I know Enzo Maresca said he likes a team where you have 3 forwards scoring 15 goals apiece as opposed to one striker scoring 30 goals apiece. But that's what takes you over the hump. Because Manchester City, you have a lot of other people scoring goals, like your Shirky will score goals, but you have a Haaland that will give you 25 goals. Now you look at Liverpool, Salah, you have other people like your Ketike that may give you 10 goals a season, but Salah would give you 25 goals easy if they sign Isak. And funny enough, I don't think Isak will score that many goals at Liverpool because Saka is the main man there. So, still think exciting squad. I'm excited to see Estevao Willian, how he, fits into this team, how he plays in the Premier League. And for me, I think Enzo Maresca has to protect Estevao Willian. For one, he has to be bedded in, not rushed in, for one. And then, tactically, you don't want him crowded out with 2, 3 opposition players. Let the fullbacks overlap. Even if you just want one fullback to overlap, it should be down that right side where Estevao Willian think would start. He'll be a right winger alongside Pedro Neto. Like I said before, Pedro Neto will start as the number one, as the starting right winger. But as the season continues to go on, Estevao Willian would take up that starting spot. So for me, I think overall, fair play, happy with the squad. Then going back to the Nkunku talk and Nicolas Jackson, for me, I think fair play on Nkunku. If he leaves, that's fine. I'm kind of okay with that. So I'm okay with that. And then as well, a lot of the outgoings, I'm also okay with the outgoings in the team. Keenan Jusby Hall was never really going to work. There was a whole PR thing about him being, the guy for your Maresca, but that was never really going to work. So happy that he's left. So that creates more room in the team. And then Nkunku, he should go. He's someone that can absolutely contribute to the team when he's confident, when his head is in the right space. But right now, his head isn't in the right space. So, and I don't think Enzo Maresca would give him the opportunity to play. Palmer will always start, and rightfully so. I don't even see him as an option if Palmer has to rest. I see if Javi Simons is even signed, that's even double confirmation that Nkunku has to leave. So fair play, he should leave. Happy with Disasi leaving. Talked about Dortmund being interested in him. Fair play if you can get him off to Dortmund. Maybe get 20 odd, 25 odd million for Disasi. That would be fine. That would be a good deal, in my opinion. Then you get your Vega off as well. Vega is a player that I would have liked to stay because he's versatile. He can be at left back, can be centre back, can be in midfield. But whatever reason, he's not getting to play. And some people have sort of fallen out with Vega. I don't get why. Some people have fallen out with Vega. They don't like the player anymore. They feel he betrayed the club. I don't get betraying of the club when the manager is not playing you. And I keep telling this to people. Players respect hierarchy. I'm sure Vega respected the fact that Cucurella started in front instead of him. I'm sure 100% he respected that. But as a player, you always want your opportunity. You want the opportunity to prove yourself. You want to show what you're able to do. And when you get opportunity, when the number one guy is suspended or is injured, then that's when you get your shot. That's when you want the manager to give you your shot. And the Everton game, I think that was the penultimate game that Vega was like, I'm out of here. That the penultimate game. Cucurella was suspended against Brentford. And then what happened? Enzo Maresca played Gusto, played Gusto at left back. So at that point, it felt like this man is not going to use me. So it's fair play. He went on loan. But for whatever reason, fans are not happy. I've not been happy with him ever since. They want him gone. And fair play. If his head is no longer there, if Maresca is not going to use him, then it's best to let him go. Because one thing I don't want is to see the player just seated there on the bench, coming to play 2 minutes, coming to play 3 minutes, and just getting being paid and not really doing anything, for the team. And then that becomes a distraction for the team. Each press conference, you know how the media works. Each press conference will be about Vega. Each press conference will be about Disasi. So for me, I'm happy that he gets to leave. Atletico Madrid deal, don't know why that did not work. So why that fell through. They signed Feyenoord defender Hanko instead. So fair play in that regard. He is off. Fair play in that regard. He's got off that. That's good. So probably should leave. And then as well, Will Tosin for me should start, but Chelsea needs another centre back. Another centre back. If it's the Antonio Silva guy from Benfica, then that's fine. If it's the Arojo from that as Benfica as well, that's fine by me as well. You need to get that guy. You need to get a centre back, a proper centre back in the building. Tosin, Colwill, it's not enough. Mamadou Sarr, I thought was going to be, the guy, but he's been let go. He's gone back on loan to Strasbourg. So I thought Chelsea would have to cope with, Tosin. Tosin, for me, Tosin Chalobah is not a good starting lineup. And then even if you go Tosin, Colwill to start, and Chalobah as a reserve option, it's not the outright best for me. And then Anselmino, I don't know why he's not been given any sort of opportunity. It's like he'll be heading out on loan again. And I don't quite like that because when you start loaning these players every season, then you have this disconnect. Then it's a problem when you're trying to reintegrate them into the team. So I would have preferred, Aaron Anselmino to be, in the team. I would have preferred that. I would have preferred Aaron Anselmino to be, in this team, to be that other centre back option. But from the reports we're getting is that he's probably going to go out on loan. He probably will go out on loan. So for me, then if he does, then that means Chelsea do need another centre back option. So and if Nicolas Jackson goes, do you think that creates a room for an academy player to be promoted? Yeah, because it's seeming every day it seems more likely than not that Nicolas Jackson will leave. So if he goes, does that mean Shimi Mueka gets to come up from the academy to fill in those spots? Maybe in some cup games. But then again, like I said, third choice striker is never something that really, really does work. David Washington is someone that I was really excited to see, but that's not going to happen. I think probably at the end of the Brazilian season, he's going to go out on loan again. So for me, nah. He's interesting. For whatever, Pochettino didn't give him a chance. Enzo Maresca certainly didn't give him an opportunity, even when he was given academy players, time to play. So that's it. So for Tyrique George, I mean, He should go. I'm thinking about it. He should go. If Garnacho is going to come in, it's upsetting for me why you're going to sign the Garnacho while you have Tyrique George there. I think it's best he leaves and goes somewhere to play. I know people are trying to, make him look like a bad person, make him look like a bad guy, but this is his player career. Because, like I said, I've said previously in this video, players respect hierarchy. They respect the fact that someone is ahead of them. They do. They do. They respect that the player is ahead of them. But when you start piling up the options in front of a player, how do you want him to fight? Okay, if the minutes are shared between a Gittins and a Garnacho, how does a Tyrique George get game time? How does he get game time? So how does he fight? How does he show himself? When you have two left wing options already, just like Madueke now is gone, so you have Esteve William and Pedro Neto. If there was some young, right winger, how would would people think he would get an opportunity? Is he going to fight his way through to senior players? It's not going to work. So Tyrique George for me, I think if the Dortmund team comes, if Chelsea can negotiate a loan, even if it means you're paying a bulk of his wages so to get it through, I think that's what you should do for Tyrique George. But for Kanu Chukwuemeka, he should be sold because he's not going to play ahead of Xavi Simons. They're not even to mention ahead of Cole Palmer. So that's not going to happen. I rate the player. I rate Kanu Chukwuemeka. I rate him. In fact, I felt like he was meant to be the guy that would take the pressure off of Cole Palmer. But that is not happening. That's not going to happen. So for me, he should right now be thinking of staying at Dortmund. That move should be fine. It should be a permanent one because there's no point having a player like Kanu Chukwuemeka being a bench option. Doesn't make sense to me, especially when you already have two top players. At least that's the plan anyways. You have a Xavi Simons and you have a Cole Palmer. So I don't see Kanu Chukwuemeka having game time at Chelsea. It hurts me that he's not going to be at Chelsea, but I think he should go. Chelsea gets a good payday for him, and he goes to Dortmund and shines there. And it's another person where you want to have at least a sell-on clause or a buyback option for the player. That's one person, Kanu Chukwuemeka. Believe me, as he goes to Dortmund, you want to give him, you will make sure you have a buyback option or a sell-on clause, because he's another person that his value is going to increase as well, going to Dortmund, given the way they play. And they're going to play them, especially if it's a permanent sale. They don't spend money. They're very frugal in the German Bundesliga. So he's going to play. So you must have the buyback option or a resale clause. A resale clause. I mean, a sell-on clause. So if he's sold, you get some good pay for him. You get some good money for him. But so he will leave, and then Jackson, like I said, striker is just not going to work. And when you even look at the plans, and that's one thing we as fans don't even take into consideration. When you're at a club, you're going into this, you're going at the end of the season, you're feeling like, from a Nicolas Jackson point of view, you are going to be that number one guy. And then you hear club assign Liam Delap. You say, okay, I'm going to compete with Liam Delap now. So that's what's going to happen. And then you hear club sign João Pedro. So you have two people you're fighting with. And then, because I'm sure the agents of these players, including Nicolas Jackson, will hear this. There's a pre-agreement, there's negotiations with the club and another striker, for a pre-contract agreement. So if that's done, and it's as good as done, because we all know the relationship between Chelsea and Strasbourg. The same thing, when you hear a deal is being negotiated between RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg, that deal is going to go through. So from a Nicolas Jackson point of view, when you look at all that, there's no reason for him to stay. And then even if you're thinking, okay, the number 9 position is crowded out with 2 people ahead of me, but maybe then the left wing, I can see how I can make my name there, with my pace and my skill, my technique. And then you hear the club got Gittins there already, which you would know of, and then the club is also going down for Garnacho. Then you look at it and see yourself, there's no hope. There's no hope. And even if he wanted to play right wing, that is also closed down because Estevao William, given the hype, given how much the club have spent on him and his profile, he is going to play. And believe me when I say, come the end of the season, he will be the starting, right winger. So it just doesn't work for Nicolas Jackson. So he's leaving. Fair play for me. Fair play. Talk about Disasi as well. Disasi, fair play. Fair play. He has to leave. He is a good defender, in my opinion. He's better than Disasi, for sure. But stylistically, he just doesn't fit with how Enzo Maresca wants to play. It just doesn't fit. He doesn't have the pace, so he can't play in the high line. And definitely cannot be one of these crazy wide, centre backs, like a wide right centre back where you're centre back and wide out wide. He can't play there. He doesn't have the pace. So fair play for him to leave as well. And then Vega, fair play has to go because you've got Colwill there, you've got Tosin there. Though I know the club needs another centre back, but for some reason Maresca doesn't rate Vega. So that's another thing. You can't have a player that the coach is not going to play. We saw that with Nkunku last season. On the bench, played 2 minutes. On the bench, played 3 minutes. And fans, we love the club, so we like to feel like every player can just turn it on, come on 1 minute, and just shine. Playing 1 minute, playing 2 minutes. You should want to do that. No, players want the opportunity to prove themselves, and 1 minute doesn't cut it, 2 minutes doesn't cut it. And of course, you have the Cole Palmer size, obstacle in front of you, and you're hearing that the club wants to go in for another central attacking midfielder in Xavi Simons. Then that just for me just says Nkunku go. So I think if Inter Milan comes up with that, is it 40 odd million euros, and that they put in for Ademola Lookman that Atalanta are sort of rejecting, then Chelsea should accept it. Chelsea accept it, take a little loss for that one, get his wage bill off your books, and it's gone. So I think that's another sale that could and should happen, in my opinion. So let me know what you think about all these moves, all the players leaving. Dewsbury Hall for me, fine, fair play that he has to leave because I don't think he's really contributed. I don't think he's done enough to be at the club. I don't think he even fits what the club wants to do stylistically. So fair play. Coming to the club, it was meant to be like the coach's son or the coach whisperer for the other players. But I just think fair play, he should leave, in my opinion. That is gone. Let's look at is one that I thought, would have time at Chelsea, but that's not happening either. Because right now that central midfield / central defensive midfield slot is just packed. I wouldn't say stacked because when you say stacked, you're talking of a lot of quality. It's just packed. You've got Enzo, you've got Andre Santos, you've got Caicedo, you've got Esugo. So Esugo has just been signed. Andre Santos just back from a loan spell. So those two immediately go ahead of you. So let's look at Chuku. Fair play, he had to leave, and fair play, he's going to Burnley. Hopefully, he gets to play. He gets game time there. Of course, he'll get game time because money has been spent on him. He gets game time there, and I hope it's another one where you have a sell-on clause inserted or a buyback option because I think he will thrive as well. And given that Scott Parker wants to play likes to play fluid attacking football, I think he's another one that will thrive there. But it's a bit sad because I think he would have provided he would have been a different profile. Because Esugo is similar to Caicedo, though Caicedo is better than him. Andre Santos, I think, is similar to Enzo Fernandez. So Leslie Guchku would have just been that outlier, 6'3", 6'4", can play the ball out from the back, can slot into the centre back spot. Now, tactically, as in like a tactical switch, not sort of a personnel switch, but it's had to go. and you have to get him out, because for all the incomings that we've been getting, we've all been on this player signing high. You've got João Pedro, you've got Gittins, you've got Estevao William coming in, though he was signed last season. You've got Esugo coming in. So all these players you sign, that means some have to go. Some players, indeed have to leave the team. So overall, happy-ish with the squad. And the only reason I say happy-ish with the squad, because I just think the goalkeeping area is really a problem and it will cost Chelsea. I hope it doesn't cost Chelsea too much. I think it will cost Chelsea when you're talking about competing for a league title, for sure. That is going to cost Chelsea. That's one of the reasons I don't think Chelsea can really put on a real tough, a real consistent league title challenge. Maybe challenge till about December and you fall off, because I just think like what's his face now, Robert Sanchez will concede sloppy goals, and when you have goalkeepers like Alisson playing for a side like Liverpool, you have Ederson playing like a side like Man City that will score lots of goals anyways. It just means that it's going to be really hard for Chelsea. So maybe from next season, maybe 2026, 2027 season, maybe that's when Chelsea can really compete. Maybe you go in and get an actual striker, and maybe if it gets to the point where by January you're close, 3 points away, 4 points away, maybe you go into the market, you get another striker, or you go into the market, improve the squad by getting a defender, a goalkeeper. But it just feels a bit strange that and slightly difficult to get in a goalkeeper in January. It's a difficult time to get players in anyways. And we're not cup tied, but I just think it will be way more difficult to get a goalkeeper in January. So I said maybe you can get a striker in, but the goalkeeping thing still remains an issue for me. But I'm open to being shocked, to being surprised if Ederson, what's his name? If Robert Sanchez turns out to be the rebirth of Peter Cech, bravo to him. But on the evidence of last season, on the evidence of even his best game in the Chelsea shirt so far, that Club World Cup where he put up a lot of good saves, you still saw those dumb moments that he does have the propensity to do. So for me, I just think Chelsea probably finished third. That would be a good finish for Chelsea. So, toss some opinions on this Chelsea squad. Are you happy with the team? Where do you think Chelsea should finish? What would you class as success, for the team going into going into the season? So, what would you class as success for Chelsea? Chelsea fans, welcome to the channel. If you're new, please subscribe to the channel. But what would you class as success? What would be a successful season for you? The Champions League finish, Champions League position finish, and maybe an FA Cup win. What would be a good season for you? What would you term as success? What would you say is a successful season? So for me, I've said mine is comfortably finishing comfortably in top four, and then winning maybe the FA Cup. For me, that would be what a successful season would be. Other than that, I think for me that's a successful season in my opinion. And then how do you all think Estevao William would adapt to the Premier League? For me, I think he will adapt fine if one, Enzo Maresca doesn't rush him into the fray, and two, if Enzo Maresca uses him rightly and allows the fullback to overlap behind him. Because if you allow him get crowded out, 3-4 players around him, it's going to be messy. It's going to be really messy, in my humble opinion. So, thanks guys for watching this live stream with me and supporting the channel. I've seen how the channel is growing gradually. Hopefully at the end of this week, we can get to 100 subscribers on this channel. Keep supporting the channel, keep subscribing, keep watching, keep sharing the video as well. So I'll see you on yet another video. Stay well, stay blessed.